Well, welcome back to another week's analysis behind the news. As you know, for those of you who've watched me for years on these videos, I take a long look at many of the photographs that I see and the captions and the related story. And often what I see in the photograph tells me a lot more than what the article or even the caption says. I found another one of those instances in this morning's Wall Street Journal. And we're talking about Friday, actually. We're recording this one on Friday, September 5th, 2014, the Wall Street Journal. Allies say they will help form coalition to fight militants. Now, the article appears on the front page, but this is the continuation of the article, and here is the photograph. And I looked at that, and I looked again, and then I went to the internet. Because what it shows, and it's hard for you to see because it's kind of a dark photo, is these forklifts are loading supplies onto this front-loading cargo aircraft, which happens to be an Antonov AN-124. It's a Russian cargo plane. And on the side, the markings on the side are in Russian, Cyrillic. And so you looked at it, and it's the Volga Dnieper, which, and when I looked it up on the internet, it is a Russian company. Now, they do have a German subsidiary, but this is a Russian-controlled cargo aircraft airlines. They haul a lot of cargo. And so what the caption says kind of deepens the mystery in a sense. It says, military equipment being sent Thursday from Germany to Iraqi Kurds battling Islamic State militants. So if you roll this into many of the videos that I've done recently, we've shown the fact that these Kurds are communists. That these are, the Kurdish Democrat Party or the Kurdish Workers' Party and that sort of thing. And I imagine they're also supporting some of the other Kurds. But it was the Workers' Party, the Communist Kurds, that took back that dam in northern Iraq after the air raids, the airstrikes of the United States Air Force. So these are the people that we're helping. And the Russian airline company is helping them do it. Now, they wouldn't be doing that if Putin and the Russian government didn't want those Kurds to be armed. And since they're communist, why wouldn't they want them to be armed? We've stated before that if you go on Wikipedia and you look up the Peshmerga and the Workers' Party, Kurdish Workers' Party, etc., and scroll down to the bottom to see who arms these folks, it is almost a competition between the United States, Russia, and China as to where they get their assistance. And we have to ask the question, why are we helping some terrorists to help defeat other terrorists? These were bad terrorists just a little while ago. In fact, I don't think they've even been eliminated yet from the terrorist watch list of the United States, and yet we're sending them arms, just like we did ISIS. And now they're a problem, just like we've done all around the world continually. This is the sort of thing that's going on. Now, we are also noticing something else that we've talked about recently in these video segments, and that is the rise of NATO. Now, this is off the NATO website, and these are all headlines that you can access off the NATO website. Here it says, 13 June 2012, NATO and Australia strengthen security partnership. Now, keep in mind, NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So why are they involved in Iraq? Why are they involved in Afghanistan? Why are they involved now in Australia? It is going much further than the North Atlantic. And here we have another one. The very next day, NATO Australia announced plans to deepen security ties to meet common threats. And then again, we see NATO and Australia reinforce partnership with new cooperation program, a continual bunch of news releases to let everybody know that Australia is being brought into NATO. And then we see that NATO and Japan sign a cooperation agreement to deepen partnership and discuss Ukraine crisis. So now Japan is going to be brought into NATO, and they are involving themselves in the Ukrainian crisis as well, if they're going to be involved with NATO. Here, the big story off of Associated Press. Finland and Sweden increase ties to NATO. This was just a couple of weeks ago. Now, you see, Finland and Sweden have always maintained neutrality. That has been one of the things they've always tried to do. Finland had a little bit of trouble doing that just at the beginning of World War II because they were invaded by the Soviet Union. And so for temporarily, they allied themselves with the Nazi government in Germany, but then broke that tie in the middle of the war. They did it just to try and find a way to keep the Soviet Union out of their territory. But other than that, they've always wanted to remain neutral, just like Sweden, but now we see their involvement into NATO. Then the thing that really gets you, and something that's been reported on slightly in some outlets, and that is U.S. allies stage exercises in West Ukraine as battles rage in East. And so what we see is a NATO exercise in Western Ukraine involving a large number of the NATO countries in war exercises. Where this is all going, we've always stated where it's going. It's leading to a united Europe from the Atlantic to the Urals particularly, and even over into Vladivostok, all of Russia. And all we see, all the stage being set and the scenery moved around and the play being performed, that is where it's going. Ultimately, they are setting the stage to scare everybody into NATO, all of Europe into NATO, like Finland, like Sweden, and now even in the Pacific, because of the problems they're having with the Chinese. The Australians need support, the Japanese need support, so they're going to ally themselves and become members ultimately into NATO. They're doing it a step at a time so that people don't know what's going on or recognize what's going on. But that's irrepressibly the direction that we are heading. And so what we need to do is, first of all, acquaint ourselves with NATO. Go online, read the NATO treaty. You will see it as a subsidiary, a regional subsidiary of the United Nations. And what we are doing around the world is tying all the militaries into this NATO treaty, which says an attack against one is an attack against all. So that if somebody does something untoward, it can involve us. Almost always, the United States supplies the bulk of the personnel and the arms for any NATO problem, whether it's Korea, whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, or anywhere else. No one seems to ask the question, why is NATO involved in these areas outside of the North Atlantic, where it was put together ostensibly to stop the Russian bear from invading Europe? Well, most of us who've been involved in this for decades know that NATO had a much more sinister purpose, and we're starting to see that purpose coalesce now into a world police force under the UN. If it was called a United Nations police force, nobody would buy in. But because it's called a NATO police force, everybody is welcoming it. It's very dangerous, something to keep your eye on. And whether it's an airplane from Russia supplying the Communist Kurds with U.S. supplies out of Germany, or whether it's NATO, it's all moving in that direction of a new world order. Until next week, we'll see you then.